Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the One Nation of Gamers Summer Circuit Feature Tournament number 4. Once again, I'm TJ, joined by Trump. Trump, we're about to move into the losers matchup between Impact and Privet. And these guys both have some interesting decks of their own. We actually haven't seen two of the decks from Impact. And Privet, of course, running the Ogre Brute Black Knight Druid.
All right, it's going to be interesting to see if Black Knight actually has any targets. I think Impact has 0 targets in his decks. I mean, I'm assuming the usual Hunter, which rarely runs taunts. Um, we did see Patron, and Rogue doesn't have any. So that's going to be a 6 mana 4/5. And that's one of the dangers of bringing Black Knight.
Yeah, and I mean, there is a potential that Impact might be running a oh, he could get Misha from Animal Companion. Also, he could have a Houndmaster onto a target, but it's really hard to find Black Knight targets against hunters, and sometimes it could be too slow regardless. So it
Very
looks
true.
like the players actually are ready already. So we're going to jump into the first match really quickly here. You can see the mulligans on your screen. It's going to be Rogue versus Druid. So the Rogue for Impact, probably going to throw out the Druid.
Cool. While we're talking about tech choices, one of the things that Patron has kind of adjusted is there's a lot less, a lot fewer big game hunter targets. Also, when I think about Impact's lineup, I think it's possible that none of his minions get BGH'd. Also,
Yeah, that's also going to be a big deal. It can also be a big deal if he has to rely on Ogre Brute to connect against one of these targets from Rogue. Rogues are one of the classes that can punish you the most for leaving stuff on the board because of Tinker Sharp Soil. So those Ogre Brutes, if he plays them, are going to need to connect.
yep. We've got a very ramp heavy, well, not ramp heavy, but a burst of mana heavy. And from Privet, he's got a choice of whether to go with the boom or the lore. Usually we'd go boom. It's a stronger play earlier.
Mhm.
Though he might feel like, I want to go Ancient of Lore, draw something on 6, because what am I going to do with 6 mana if I play Dr. Boom now? Considerations. Boom is definitely the more standard choice, though.
Yeah, especially since Rogues... Dr. Boom is the bane of Rogues. Rogues, unless they're ahead, just don't have good ways to deal with Dr. Boom. A lot of times, the
The
best way they can deal
Annoyatron.
with it...
That's a
Yeah,
really
and
good one.
yeah, I was going to say the best way that they can deal with it is either by sapping it, in which case they're going to give them more boom bots, or by smacking into it with an already buffed dagger and then using Blade Flurry to clear it off, in which case you're most of the time taking the damage from hitting the Dr. Boom, plus the residual damage from the boom bots hitting your face after you Blade Flurry. Just such a tough card to deal with for Rose.
Oh, man. It's like, I looked at the Rogue's mana, and he's like, oh, he only has 4 mana available, and he had to deal with this 7 mana Dr. Boom. That's the power of Wild Growth into Innervate for you.
Yeah. And he finds a way to deal with it pretty nicely, but it's going to come out again at some point. You only have a limited number of saps, and so early on into the game, the likelihood that he has the second one is pretty low. And
Oh, boom goes the dynamite as the boombot smacks into the minion. Exactly what I want. I thought Priven might have been thinking about taking it a bit slower with Druid of the Claw, but he goes ahead and does the innervate. Here we go. That's the buff that Dr. Boom needed.
yeah,
3 boombots.
so Impact can dagger up, prep Sharp Soil, smack into the Doctor Boom, and then Blade Flurry. Then he takes 7 damage plus however many the Boombots do to him, up to 12, which is absurd. He could take the 19 damage in a single turn. This works out quite a bit better. Not really.
That actually ended up being fairly light on Impact's side.
Yeah.
So, not too bad. The tough part is going to be dealing with these monstrous minions. Almost feels like Hamlock that you're facing off against. The 5 health is just out of reach of Oil plus Blade Flurry. With the spell damage it would work, but it's going to be tough to get the spell damage. I guess Impact is going to set up for hitting and then getting a dagger, Oil, get the next turn Azure Drake.
Drake Blade Flurry. But he's just dead. Because as we can
And
see,
he's dead.
yeah, Privet does have Force of Nature in the hand. Doesn't even need the combo, just needs the 6 damage from the Force of Nature. So that's a quick match. That ended on, what, turn 7? Crazy.
Yeah, a little hard to say because Privet spent like he cheated his way up to 7 and 9 mana occasionally, and he got the wild growth to get the coin every turn also. So a lot of mana, get the big threats out a lot earlier than expected. It's kind of like Handlock, except the big threats in this case are Doctor Boom, which might be even scarier than just a giant.
Yeah. So Privet takes a quick 1-0 victory in the series, and manages to find a victory with the Druid very quickly. Impact's going to switch it up. He's going to throw out the Hunter, which looks to be heavily mid-range with both Paladin Shredder and Savannah Highmane. And I believe Privet threw out the Warrior? Yes, the Warrior.
Yep. Just gonna be up to the Hunter to be able to have a good pace. I think he kept Savannah Highmane in his hand. I'm not entirely sure. It's always interesting to see whether or not the mid-range hunters feel like that card is keepable. A 6 mana card, just because it's such a big problem for patrons or warriors in general to deal with.
Or almost every class to deal with. Just such a powerful card. If it was a neutral, it'd be played in a lot of decks.
That's right.
And wow, this is a pretty strong curve for Impact, but he's got multiple options. He can curve Animal Companion into Shredder, into Coin Savannah Highmane, which is really strong. But it looks like he is going to opt for the... Warsong Commander is a very scary thing to leave up on the board.
Yeah, that was a big play by Privet, going with the Warsong Commander on 3. I have to imagine he won't be as willing to use the second one like that. It's against Hunter, that's one of the few classes where doing that play is viable. I'm not sure whether or not it's good. I probably personally would have armored up, but I think it's a viable line of play.
I just saw Privet minimize and open up a browser. I think he might be Googling Impact's Hunter deck to see if it runs a Houndmaster to think whether or not he needs to fire War Axe into this Haunted Creeper. And he doesn't. Yeah. That's
good
funny.
News for Privet.
All right. Well, both pages in the hand. It has whirlwind effects as well, but this is tough to deal with. He can fire War Axe into the Paladin Shredder. Hopefully something comes out that he can easily deal with from the Gnomish Inventor.
Right. He's hoping for a 3-2 or a 2-2 to also get Battle Rage. That's good. And Battle Rage. There we go.
Start your draw engines.
Very, very good there. The Inner Rage allows the 4 Patron on turn 6.
One of the strongest turn 6 plays in the
game. Oh man, is he going to commit the second Warsong Commander? There he goes. He wasn't just content with 4 patrons, he wants them to also charge, potentially. And it's not just that. By playing the Warsong Commander, you ensure that the opponent has to deal with it. You know that the opponent doesn't have Houndmaster, so he would basically need to do another kill command or a bow. So this slowed down the Hunter a lot. Otherwise, the Hunter was looking to coin Savannah Highmane, perhaps. So Privet is really taking this tempo game to an extreme.
Yeah, Impact has been getting the short end of the stick in these past couple matches. You can see a small eye roll as he sees the Patron Inner Rage come out. And, I mean, you have to commend Privet for, even though he played those Warsong Commanders and now he has none left, he forced Impact to make suboptimal plays on otherwise really strong turns. Instead of playing a Paladin Shredder, or an Animal Companion, sorry, on turn 3, he had to kill command a Warsong Commander. And instead of playing, coining out a Savannah Highmane on turn 5, he had to Eaglehorn Bow down the other Warsong Commander. So just interrupting all of these power plays.
Yeah, I feel like this is This is a deck. This is a hand, a specific hand in matchup, which probably the majority of players would have played differently. But the way that Privet has played this, it's ended up a lot better than it usually would have.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's a bold plan.
Impact's still holding his own here. But he's used a lot of his resources. He really just wants to get the Savannah High Main down on a board that isn't just going to kill it instantly. Can he do it? Is this worth a slam? Or
This was
does he just
interesting.
want to
I thought
trade in with the
Despite
patron?
was a strong play there. Despite Acolyte of Pain, and
Mhm.
then use the 5-1-3-2.
Yeah.
Especially since the Whirlwind effect is good for the second Grim Patron, but I can understand using the 5-1 and not taking the damage.
Okay. Yep. And finally is going to get the high main out, and this is not that strong of a board to be able to deal with this. Not developing the Despite last turn. He actually has a pretty weak board. He can't deal with it by taking the damage, but it's a lot of damage.
Yep, this is where not having Warsong Commander does start to cost a bit. Basically, Privet put his pedal to the metal there, and now he's running out of gas. At this point, you might want to do the Warsong Grim Patron into all the hyenas, and you'd normally be able to, but now you have no Warsong Commanders. Furthermore, you don't have the Despite developed in order to activate the patrons, but even so, this board and the minions available might just be strong enough. Impact gets a good pickup there.
It's too bad Privet decided not to put the Black Knight in his Warrior deck as well, but hits a couple of key things for the reduction. No Whirlwind effect. Still, this Despite's been in his hand for longer than a Despite usually stays in a Patron Warrior's hand.
It's true. Looks like no matter what happens, the Emperor Thorsan is going to give it another round of discounts, and that's going to be a big deal.
He could slam the 4-2, Despite into the Houndmaster, and then slam face with the Emperor Thorsan, which makes two high priority targets that Impact needs to kill on the board. Okay,
Right.
this works as
He's
well
making the
because Battle Rage.
Yeah, I was expecting him to definitely draw because he does have the Emperor Thorsan out. So he's gonna go with the bite. Sure.
And, I mean, this is pressure. It's not often that you see the Warrior ahead in the health race against the Hunter. But these early plays that Privet made really put him in a great position.
It did. I can't help but think that there was a little bit of that brilliance squandered when he didn't play the Death Spite, and that would have continued to push it. But
Yeah.
overall, this has been a really enthralling game to watch from the patron side. Very differently played. And, I think it was done pretty well.
I was thinking to myself, wow, if he draws into Warsong Commander, he just wins. But he doesn't have any more.
With the Hunter hand gone, it looks like... I mean, Warsong Commander was never really necessary in this matchup to charge, because you're more concerned with staying alive, and if you just have a lot of patrons out, you generally win anyways. So, looks like Privet is just taking this experience in a pretty good direction.
Yeah, he hasn't checked for any traps. He doesn't know what traps Impact runs, so that might play into his decision of how many patrons he decides to make. Whoa, the Brawl tech in Patron Warrior.
Yeah, an interesting one. Clearly aimed against Handlock and the fellow patron matchup.
I like it. Sets up for lethal next turn, depending on what trap it is. If it is explosive, then he'll have to wait another turn, but he'll get even more patrons. Houndmaster, not really a card that he needed, but I don't think there was much that he could have drawn that was going to help him out.
If you're Impact, you actually make a mistake by not conceding right now. Well, yeah, you probably do. Just because knowledge of what trap that is really useful.
Yeah. Also, knowledge playing the Houndmaster is whether or not you know he has double Houndmaster or single Houndmaster, especially since he knows he's going to lose. The winner of the game has an informational advantage because they don't have to play that deck that they just played anymore. And so now Privet can say, well, I know that he has two Houndmasters, and I know that one of his traps is explosive. So that's a really good point to mention. Now he concedes. All right. Well, he waits a little bit long, but looks like Privet is going to take a 2-0 lead in the series. Seen lots of quick series today, 2 3-0s. Yesterday, out of all 8 of the matches that we played, not a single one of them was a 3-0. Today, it's a little bit of a different story, and Privet looks to try and continue that trend. He just has to find a win with his Handlock. Or no, sorry, Malagos Warlock.
Oh, right. Interesting choice. Oh, that Malagos Warlock is running the Black Knight also.
Wow, he loves that card.
I guess he was predicting a field full of druids or handlocks or both. And
Yeah. He actually did run these exact same deck lineups through his qualifier, which means he went through an entire open with those decks. So I guess they're sort of tried and true at this stage, since he made it through a 256 player open bracket with Black Knight Malagos Warlock and Black Knight Druid.
yeah, that is something.
Impact realizes Hunter probably going to be his strongest matchup, so he's going to throw that out. First of all, to try and get momentum on his side, we've seen different approaches to this type of matchup. Chalky put out his weakest matchup first. Impact looks like he's going to throw out his strongest matchup first.
Even the Blackwing Technician is a little bit of an interesting thing because I would say Imp Gang Boss was considered to be the more standard or solid choice as at the time of this deck's heyday, the Malagos Warlock. But there was definitely consideration for this card just because of the dragon synergy.
Yeah. Oh, Animal Companion. This isn't the strongest board for Animal Companion, especially not a Huffer. He will be able to put pressure. I guess everything would have been weak. Misha would have just been traded into by the BGH.
Yeah, I think the Huffer was best there. Wink,
Yeah.
wink.
Well, maybe Leok, because he could have traded in to the BGH.
That's a good call. Yeah.
But
Leok would have
Huffer,
been, strangely number 1 there.
yeah, Huffer better than Misha at the very least. Freezing trap. Okay, so now Privet can say he knows that there's one freezing and an explosive. I guess it doesn't matter at this point, but he knows that there is still an explosive trap left in the deck.
Oh, this is a surprise, and also a terrible draw, but it's a surprise. I would have expected the deck to be 2 freezing and an explosive, as is usual for a mid-range hunter, but Impact mixing it up.
It's interesting. Very interesting. This is a little bit of an annoying board, but he does have Belcher. Hellfire doesn't really take too much power off.
Yeah, the Belcher is the perfect answer to a board like this. All these small minions with low amounts of health, so the Sludge Belcher is kind of like a Hellfire. And the Sludge Belcher is going to survive to make that ooze, which is going to look to be a problem for Impact, the ooze.
Yeah. So did you play much?
This would have been a great turn to Azure Drake and Soulfire 5/5, but good old Lotham.
Too bad. Did you play much Malagos Warlock when it was a little bit more popular, sort of at the beginning of, I guess beginning of August and July era?
Yeah, I played a decent amount of it. I think one of the tournaments I won, I was playing Malagos Warlock. I can't remember which one it is. Was
just won so many tournaments lately, it's hard to remember.
It's really strong in a metagame of Hamlocks, which it looks like Hamlock you would expect it to be more popular because of all the patrons, but just because the other 2 decks tend to be strong in Hamlock, so a lot of diversity out there.
Yeah. Looks like Privet made the right call with it, as he's had decent amount of success with it. Decides to just go for the heal bot, take off the owl. It's still you mentioned it earlier. What a rough draw with that explosive trap. Having both explosives, especially in this matchup where both players are fighting for board, the explosive isn't that relevant yet.
Yep, the ooze takes the 5 damage, so it's a really good ooze.
Fantastic ooze.
This is going to be a pretty good spot for a Hellfire. Not perfect. Oh, the Dark Bomb helps out a lot, so you get rid of the Shredder first, probably with the Dark Bomb, and then you can get the board clear.
Yeah. Mortal Coil would have been pretty nice as well.
Yeah, that would have been even better.
Yeah.
It's a good call not to Dark Bomb first, because the thing that comes out might not be threatening enough, but it is.
Mm-hmm. Stone Tusk Boar.
Oh, Impact looks at his hand, looks at his score of 0 and 2, and it's like, why? Why do I have 2 explosive traps in my hand? Oh,
especially the Innervate Dr. Boom, sap into Innervate Dr. Boom again in the first matchup, and then, yeah, he's just had a little bit of a rough series this time around. And as I mentioned earlier, Impact is the only player right now where the GEICO points dictate whether or not he's going to be going to PAX. He needs to finish top 2 in this weekend's feature tournament if he wants his spot, because that would allow him to pass the second place GEICO point holder in points and get him that spot. But right now he's just trying to make it out of Group A.
That's too bad. Like, it's really nice to have multiple ways to make it into PAX, and to just be able to, I mean, to only have to go to the top 2. Of course, that's still very tough against this field, but that was a pretty good chance, and Impact's got to be feeling pretty sad. He came so far. Getting those GEICO points means that you participate in a lot of these tournaments, but at the end, his decks have failed him.
Yeah, he's still got a chance in this one, but it's looking really grim as Privet's getting dangerously close to lethal.
Yeah, maybe his decks haven't failed him yet.
It's a lot of burn.
We're
sort of on the all-in plan.
Doggies.
Yeah.
That would be 3, 8, 11, 13, and 1 more minion, but there's a heal bot. Heal bot is cheat.
Animal Companion. But he's going to be on the clock now. Anti-Healbot still gives him 8 points of heal. He even has Siphon Soul as a little bit of an extra heal to get him out of range of certain things. Like I said, Hunter's one of those decks where you can sort of count the maximum damage that they're going to be able to do in a turn, which really allows you to play around as much stuff as possible, especially once they're out of cards.
Impact's like, oh, heal for 16, cheater.
Alright, he's dead for next turn. There's not a draw in his deck that can do it. He can Huffer and then throw it into something. But he's still dead. With, Misha. I guess Misha's sort of the same effect. And it looks like that is going to do it. I greet you. Oh, man. Privet throwing in a little bit of salt in the wounds for Impact here. And he's going to take the series 3-0. It's going to be our third 3-0 of the day.
Wow.
Pretty intense. These players, it seems like they're evenly matched, but one player just coming out with better matchups in these series. And Privet will move on to the elimination match to face off against Chalky. Ooh, those players haven't faced off against each other yet today. Impact, unfortunately, he is out of the tournament, and it looks like his run to get to PAX has ended. He will not be able to reach enough points with a 7th to 8th place finish to get there. So a little bit unfortunate to him, but we did get to see some good performances from him throughout the course of the summer circuit season.
Oh, that stings so much to be third highest point holder.
Yeah, he's actually not quite third. He's like 8th or something, but getting top 2 would give him enough to pass like 6 people to bump him up for second, since this is the last tournament that gives any GEICO points. But it is really bittersweet to say, okay, Impact, all you have to do is either play second or first, and you're going to PAX, and then to be the first player eliminated, yeah, it is a little bit rough. A little bit rough. But guys, we do have one more matchup to go for the day. Of course, like I mentioned, it's going to be the final elimination match between Privet and Chalky. Another reminder for you guys, head over during the break to geico.onog.gg. Make sure you enter to win your official TSM PC. Also, get your GEICO quote and sign up for those newsletters. It really gives GEICO a good idea of how many people support their esports endeavors, so head over there during the break. But just a couple minutes before we jump into Chalky versus Privet. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back.